It's okay if it's not that. Everybody has the book open? Yes? Okay. And you have section 3 in front of you? Good. Good. So section 3 is about the Vidya Tattva and the Avidya Tattva. Very important that you pay attention. We are going to go into detail to understand how from within only a journey that started with ignorance can get to all the way to awakening or enlightenment. And this entire journey is happening within. Yeah, so we are attempting to understand that journey from the inner level. So one must be very astute, aware, awake. Yeah, however busy your day has been, now is the time to completely pay attention. A quick recap of this Turiya tree we'll do, just so that everybody is on the same page. Some of you submitted the exam some time ago, so obviously you don't remember everything in detail. Those who have just finished the exam, you might remember it. So a quick recap of Turiya tree before we go into Vidya Tattva and Avidya Tattva. We understood from the beginning that this tree that we are talking about is an imaginary or a symbolic depiction. What is it depicting? That consciousness itself is playing a game with itself. When it forgets itself, in that forgetfulness, it starts projecting arisings with that seeking within, a search within, am I this? It projects another arising, am I this? Another arising, am I this? So it starts with a seeking. When ignorance prevails, one doesn't know what is the seeking about, and you're like crazily seeking. You're running after name, fame, money, relationships, 2 relationships, 10 relationships, kids, 2 kids, 5 kids, 10 kids, and you just cannot find that peace that you're looking for, the happiness that you're looking for. So this seeking began with consciousness's own search, but consciousness has forgotten itself, remember? So because of the forgetfulness, we kept thinking, I'm searching for this, maybe this will make me happy, maybe that. And this constant seeking made a shift happen, that there is no joy here. Maybe the joy will be in the opposite direction. So that inward turning happened. When that inward turning happened, that is when there was a realization that there is something which is external and something which is internal. So that is what this Turiya tree depicts. Everything that is above the ground is external. Everything that is below the ground is internal. Okay? What is above the ground? There is the recognition of waking arisings. Arisings are people, situations, things. These come, go, appear, disappear. I like some, I dislike some. I find some really pleasant, I find some unpleasant. And I don't understand what this arising after arising really means. Waking consciousness is projecting questions. Am I this? Am I this? Am I this? Is this what I am seeking? Is happiness to be found here? Yeah, but only the questions are above ground. The questioner is not above ground. The questions are here in the waking. The similar questions are in the dream. Remember, we discussed that a dream is nothing but broken, fragmented, fuzzy waking picture. That is what is the dream. I'm constantly seeking in dream also. And I don't know what I'm seeking. I am just seeking. So the waking consciousness is above ground, the dream consciousness is above ground. Do I stop at that? No, I want to seek even in deep sleep. There is a constant search going on. That constant search is proof that there has to be something more. There has to be something more. I didn't find it above ground, means in the external waking, dream and deep sleep. There has to be something more, which is beyond, which is internal. And that brings into the picture the understanding of something higher. There has to be something higher. So higher wisdom comes from within, and that search also is coming from within. So here I just see the waking consciousness, dream consciousness and deep sleep consciousness. But something from within is calling me, wants me to look for something higher. And I manifest a guru, an external guru here. Not that that external guru is going to be able to show me what is internal. That guru is only going to be able to guide me again and again, encourage me to stop looking here above ground and look within. That is the job of the external guru. And that's how there is the guru consciousness here and the disciple consciousness here. But again, it is only as an arising that appears and disappears. That guru cannot really show me what is within. That guru can only again and again encourage me, turn within, turn in, turn in. And then once I find that courage, find that self-motivation, that's when I turn in. That means it is the consciousness which is the guru and consciousness which is the disciple. Consciousness is teaching itself. So the turning within is where we have stopped in the section 2. What is below the ground, or after I look within, what do I find? I find that within me only there was this ignorance. Ignorance is not some external Satan or devil trying to plant something negative in me. Ignorance was always mine. So that is the avidya tattva. Now, when I was a little kid, I was closer to what my reality is. I never felt I am this body. Mummy asked, is Ekta hungry? I answered, yes, Ekta is hungry. Then she said, no, say I. This is I. This is you. So conditioning after conditioning, conditioning after conditioning developed the idea of an I here. Whereas that was not my reality. To begin with, I did not see this distinction. Everything was one, a single picture. Everything was one single picture. So the ignorance or avidya that was slapped onto me, I accepted it. What within me accepts it? That is the avidya tattva. Now also, though you have been walking this spiritual path for some time, and your vidya tattva, that aspect of consciousness which is the wisdom giver. The Vidya Tattva has been activated. Yeah. Though that has been activated, many times you slip into avidya. Do you realize that? Yes, in your very strong attachments, maybe at home, at work, with respect to money, with respect to friends, name, fame, something. Somewhere you slip. What has happened? Your avidya tattva is more active or predominant in that particular scenario. That is what has been labeled as an attachment. Yeah? Because on the Dvaitam path, a simple layman would find this very complicated to understand, what Vidya Tattva and Avidya Tattva. So it was simply labeled as an attachment. It is your attachment. You work on your attachment. It is your attachment that is pulling you into bad company. It is your attachment that is making you unproductive. It is your attachment that is making you lazy, sleepy, which is not allowing you to go deeper into wisdom. Yeah. So that was a simplified Dvaitam level version of this. Coming to Ajatavada, you see there is no other. There is only consciousness. So when there is only consciousness, within consciousness itself, there are both tattvas. The Vidya Tattva and the Avidya Tattva. Yeah? Vidya Tattva, wisdom aspect. Avidya Tattva, the ignorance aspect. Both are within me. So, again, back comparing it to the Dvaitam path. On the Dvaitam path, on the religious path, because the layman finds it difficult to understand or even see this, there are phrases develop. Oh, the devil has put this lust in you, the devil has put this greed in you, and then it led to the belief of a devil, and it led to the belief of hell, and then it led to the belief of some angel also who's putting good qualities into you, and the belief of a heaven. So see very clearly, this has come from explanations that were diluted for the layman who could not really grasp it at this level. Now that you have the ability to see at this level, start recognizing your own Vidya Tattva and Avidya Tattva. Yeah? Bring to memory, maybe you slipped on something this week. Maybe you've taken a vow to not use harsh speech with family, and you slipped. Bring back that memory, and in that moment, what happened? Do you recognize there was like a strong magnetic pull of the Avidya Tattva, that almost like a black hole came and sucked you in? Yeah, it was from inside. It's not external. It's got nothing to do with your friend, your partner, your colleague, whoever was involved in that particular scenario. No. It is the Avidya Tattva in me that I have really fed, and it had such a strong power, such a strong energy that it sucked me in. Which means the same Vidya Tattva got sucked into Avidya Tattva. Yeah. So let's attempt to understand. Now I've just given you an overview of what this tree is and what we are going into. The moment you start understanding Vidya Tattva and Avidya Tattva, you'll understand, oh, the Guru is within. The disciple is also within. Consciousness is teaching itself. There is no question of an external Guru. So if the recap of the Turiya tree is clear, I can move ahead then to verse 87. Give me a thumbs up. All good? Recap is good. Okay. So moving to section 3 of Guru Tattva Drishti, verse 87. Turiya projects avidya tattva or ignorance of its formlessness and adopts waking names and forms. Waking arisings of sight, which is form, and sound, which is name, of a wisdom guide is the waking guru. Waking arisings of sight and sound of a wisdom follower is the waking disciple. Now, Turiya has turned in. This starts where the inward turning happens. Turiya has turned in and recognized, what did I do earlier? I had projected through this avidya tattva ignorance about myself, and I tried to look for identification in that name and form, identification in that name and form. Those were just waking arisings. And finally, when I did not get any happiness there, I manifested the sight and sound of a wisdom guide that I labeled as waking guru. And I manifested a body-mind person here, which is again sight and sound of a wisdom follower. And this is the waking disciple. And I play this little game with myself of a guru and a shishya. Clear? This is not realized when Turiya is in complete ignorance. This is realized when? Once Turiya turns in and looks back and says, oh, I was seeking. And I was seeking identification in the waking name and form. And that is why I projected an external guru and an external disciple and believed in that external guru. So those who've come from the Dvaitam path and feel, oh, I shouldn't have had an external guru. No, please understand, that's like primary school. It's an important stepping stone. Yeah, even if you came from religion and you did lots of rites, rituals, believed in idol worship, had a guru, it is all like primary school. It's a stepping stone. It's required. You put your foot on that and you came higher. Without that footing, you wouldn't have been able to climb higher. Yeah, so it's something you must be grateful for, not feel bad about. Clear? So now that there is recognition for Turiya, after turning in that, oh, I was just seeking, and that's why I project an arising, I project sight, I project sound separately. I join them together and I say, this is Ekta's form and this is Ekta's sound, and whatever sound I am hearing, that is wisdom. Yeah, so it is creating a story even right now. Reality is, Turiya consciousness is instructing itself. That which got me in will take me out. Yeah, this was said by Rumi. Means what? What got me into trouble? This big I got me into trouble. I. It went seeking. It wanted to be this and that, no? And it started playing the game. It was not happy with just I. It played the game. I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that. Collected a lot of misery and decided, oh, this is burning fire. I am leaving this, letting this go. This turning inwards makes me realize this I got me into trouble. This I will now get me out. I do not recognize this until I turn inwards. Be very, very clear about this. When I am seeped into ignorance, do I realize it is ignorance? Oh, I love it. I am enjoying the ignorance. Yeah, so I can never see that the ignorance is fire. Only after I have turned inwards do I recognize it's only fire. That which got me in will get me out. That is the Turiya consciousness's responsibility. So now it starts understanding itself in a little more depth. Let's see what the next verse says. Verse 88, waking consciousness instructs itself that it is Turiya consciousness in reality. This is the meaning of inward turning. Do you realize this when you first did Advaita level 1 and when you first heard about the witness consciousness? Now see it from the inward standpoint. It was not the waker that was telling itself, turn inwards. Waker can never turn inwards. At that level, we were like primary school children and we didn't understand who is telling whom. Now you can answer that question. Oh, it was actually Turiya consciousness that was instructing the waking consciousness. Come on, turn inwards. You are Turiya. Now it becomes clear. At this level it becomes clear. Oh, it was never the waker. The waker cannot turn inwards. It is Turiya consciousness that is pretending to be the waking consciousness and is involved here outside in the waking world. That has only started looking inwards now. What happens when it looks inwards? Turiya discards the waking names and forms, turns within and recognizes its real self. This guidance originates from the Vidya Tattva of consciousness. Okay. Do not mistakenly think that the guidance came from Ekta or the guidance came from the first Adi Shankaracharya book that I picked up, or the guidance came from some external video I watched. Or no. Nothing like that. That is only an excuse that the waker tells himself. If you don't want to listen to somebody, you will not listen. Have you realized how cunning the ego is? So there was an inward feeling of something is lacking. I need to find that. Do you recognize it? So it was that Turiya consciousness itself telling the waking consciousness, there is something lacking here. Can't you see it yet? Aren't you fed up yet? That constant niggling feeling comes from within. Then only are you ready to listen to an Ekta in that external world. Otherwise, the ego is not ready to listen. Are you seeing this? So the first little nudge, the first poke comes from within. And from where is it originating? From that Vidya Tattva. So here I will encourage you to pause for a moment and remember the first nudge that you can bring up in your memory. Must be many years ago, but first nudge which told you this is good, but there must be something more. It might have come in such rosy words or a rosy feeling. There has to be something higher. How can this be it? When it came from maturity, talking about that first nudge, the first poke. That was your Vidya Tattva actually poking you. Then you went out and looked for Adi Shankaracharya, Advaita Vedanta path, or some of us went to religious paths and Dvaitam paths because we didn't know better. And then that was a stepping stone for you to come to Ajatavada, the highest level. So do you see all this has happened because of the first poke of the inner Vidya Tattva. Now, I will be giving you this exercise as your Gurukul students to start recognizing these pokes of Vidya Tattva. They come up many times in the day. Whenever there is that little feeling of I should not be indulging in this conversation, or I must not go this way, I must not think like this. These are not happening in English sentences like Ekta is saying. It's just a feeling. Yeah, it's as if some energy from within telling you, no, this is not right. This is the way you must go. And it's just a movement of energy. And it's a very quiet, silent whisper like movement. It's not loud in English, very well articulated. That is the poke of Vidya Tattva. It's constantly speaking to you. All you need to do is listen. So as Gurukul students, first thing that you must start working on from this chapter onwards is, do I recognize this guidance from the Vidya Tattva? Vidya Tattva, wisdom aspect of the consciousness that sees the truth. Okay. Now I describe all of this in the waking. The same thing happens in the dream. So I'll read verse 89. Turiya projects avidya tattva, or ignorance of its formlessness, and adopts dream names and forms. Dream arisings of sight and sound, which is form and name, of a wisdom guide is the dream guru. And dream arisings of sight and sound, which is again form and name, of a wisdom follower is the dream disciple. Many times you are talking with Ekta in your dreams, yeah? Or some other guru, or reading Adi Shankaracharya's scripture, Advaita Vedanta, or you having a conversation with Gaudapada in your dream. Yeah, so there also you have manufactured a dream guru, a dream disciple. Yes, name and form. This recognition is there. I used to do this for material world names and forms. I used to project them earlier. Now I've started doing this at the wisdom level, at the spiritual level. Nothing wrong. Just understanding how the seeking operates is important. And don't try to stop it. There is nothing to stop here. Understanding consciousness in its totality is important here. That's all we are doing. Yeah? Once you understand it, the wrong will drop off, and just your understanding, which comes from direct seeing, that will remain. That is the only goal. There is no other goal. So there is nothing to suppress, nothing to stop. Just recognize this is the way projection is happening. It is happening out of seeking. Earlier it used to happen for material world things, and that was called anatma vasana. Now it has turned, and it is now atma vasana, for understanding consciousness. Now, has it ever happened that in a dream you're talking to Gaudapada or Adi Shankaracharya, and in the dream you realize, I am dreaming? You woke up? Yes. What is happening? Who's poking you? Who's reminding you? That is verse 90. Dream consciousness instructs itself that it is Turiya consciousness in reality. Dream character cannot remind. Dream scene, dream money, dream situations, dream people cannot remind. Yeah? So, it is that Turiya only knocking again and again. Wake up. Wake up. You are Turiya in reality. Yeah, Turiya discards the dream names and forms, turns within, and recognizes its real self. In that moment, when the dream collapses, there's just that witnessing awareness field standing alone. The entire dream story has collapsed, but the knowingness is still there, and that knowingness field knows that the dream has collapsed. It's collapsed into nothingness. It's not there now. That which knows, that is Turiya consciousness. And that Turiya consciousness got its guidance from where? This guidance originates from the Vidya Tattva of consciousness. Vidya Tattva again, the wisdom aspect of consciousness. That wisdom aspect can see the truth. That is how in Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana, those who have been practicing, every sadhana strengthens the witnessing. You start recognizing, oh, I am the same witness. I'm common between the waking and the dream. So now you have truly got promoted from waking consciousness to Turiya consciousness, or from dream consciousness to Turiya consciousness. And only you know, are you promoted or not? So do your performance analysis, do a good performance report. Have I got promoted or not yet? And how do you know whether you're promoted or not? Or are you demoted the other way? How do you know? Verse 91. It is merely an appearance that the body, mind, personality projected as the Guru speaks. It is merely an appearance that the body, mind, personality projected as the disciple listens. An appearance cannot speak, an appearance cannot listen. Nobody speaks, nobody listens. Most important verse of this book. Most important. Why? Because it shows me, have I really turned within? Or am I faking it? Is my mind creating an idea and believing in the idea? Or has the transformation really happened? Yeah? Very important. Every sadhak who's really sincere about his spiritual journey has that question, have I progressed or am I there only? Have I really turned within? So the answer is in verse 91. Do you see your own body-mind complex as an appearance? You're so attached to the external guru because he's taking you towards the highest consciousness. Have you started seeing that external body, mind, personality also just as an appearance? This is giving me proof. This is the testimonial. The testimonial that yes, I have really turned within. That recognition will start happening. There is nobody speaking here and listening here. It's just an appearance, just an appearance. The understanding doesn't happen when Ekta speaks and this body-mind listens. The understanding is happening elsewhere. Do you recognize that? The understanding has got nothing to do with the English language or the words. The understanding has got nothing to do with the waker being alert, making notes, or listening or not listening. None of this matters. The understanding is happening elsewhere. Have you realized that? Sometimes you understand it before Ekta has said it, and the moment she says it, it's like, oh yes, I see this. Yeah, that is proof. Understanding is happening elsewhere. And what is that elsewhere? The inner level. The avidya tattva suddenly shifts to the vidya tattva. Yeah, the ignorance aspect is as if sucked in by the wisdom aspect. I'm just speaking metaphorically, but attempt to understand that the ignorance in me gets wiped away by my own inner wisdom. It cannot get wiped away by Ekta's words or any other teacher's words or any book or scripture or anything. It's not happening at this waking level only. When you see this, that is testimony that you have truly turned within. Truly turned within. That day you can write a good performance report. Yes, I have been promoted. Promoted from waking consciousness to Turiya consciousness. Okay. Now we'll go deeper into the understanding of the Vidya Tattva and Avidya Tattva. I'll read verse 92 first and then we'll dive deeper into it. The reality is that the pure consciousness projects polarities of wisdom and ignorance. Vidya Tattva and Avidya Tattva. The inactive Vidya Tattva is the passive wisdom principle. When enabled, it evolves into the active wisdom principle. That appears as insight exchange. Here is the key. Where did the insight arise from? It does not arise from Ekta's words. Most of the times what she says is only something that the waker could not articulate. It was already known at the deeper inner consciousness level. Have you realized that? Yes. That is proof that something is happening, an insight exchange is happening at an inner level. And where is it happening really? The avidya or the passive wisdom principle, it turns around and gets activated into Vidya Tattva. It only appears on the surface that, oh, I am this waker, I'm listening to this wisdom, aha, I get it. But the moment you've said, aha, I get it, you know it's too late. You understood it a little before that. Have you realized this? I understood it a little before that. Even before I could say, aha, I get it, in the mind, I had understood it. That level of insight exchange I'm talking about. You can recognize it if you silence the mind enough and observe right now, right here, because this is where you are getting the new knowledge. You've not heard about Avidya Tattva and Vidya Tattva at this detailed level before. Right now, pay attention that I understood it. The moment Ekta said, I said, aha, yes, I see it. But I had seen it. I had seen it. So some insight exchanged occurred a little before it happened in the mind that I see it. Then the head nods and the body is all excited, and then the hand is writing. The seeing, all this is happening later. Insight exchange happened at a deeper, inner, very silent, instantaneous level. That is the shift from the passive wisdom to the active wisdom, basically. The Vidya Tattva shifted from a passive state to an active state. That's where the insight exchange truly happened, but it only appears here that, oh, Ekta said it and this waker understood. No, it's not happening at this level. Are you able to see what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, this is a little difficult also, topics that we are talking. Even if you're just listening to some, say, a medical documentary, and they speak about something about the brain. Yeah, something you've never heard before, not read before, nothing. And they explain something to you and you say, yes, that is the way it happens. Yeah, and then they explain to you this part of the brain gets triggered when you have your favorite ice cream and you feel that immediate cephalic response. And they'll use all the medical words and you will understand it at another level. You don't understand cephalic response. You don't understand the area of the brain. You don't even understand what they're talking about, that it's getting triggered. But an insight exchange happened at another level, where you understand, yes, when I have the chocolate ice cream, I feel like that. And that dopamine kick that they're talking about, that is what it is. And later you put labels. You say it was a good documentary. It helped me understand. No, understanding happened elsewhere. The true insight exchange happens elsewhere. It only appears to be happening here in the waking. Is that becoming very clear? Yeah? No. Homework for you. Can I attempt to see every time my Vidya aspect suddenly shifts from passive to active? There'll be a sudden understanding in that moment, a sudden recognition of something different, a realization. It's as if an inner light came on. It's a very subtle happening. For that, you must meditate at least once a week. See that you sit in samadhi, slow down the mind. Once a week, you must empty out all the vasanas created during that week. So the mind is pure and quieter during daily routine because of the clearing of the vasana during the samadhi time. Then it will really help you to see these subtle things that we are discussing here. And these subtle insights do not suddenly happen in an impure mind. The mind must be purified with silent sitting or samadhi. Yeah? So, homework. Can I recognize the locus of insight exchange? The actual locus. Yeah? And at the same time recognize it's only appearing that in the waking is where the insight exchange happened, but this is only an appearance. Reality is, it is happening beyond. In this middle paragraph, there is a typo. It shouldn't be the inactivate Vidya Tattva, it should be the inactive Vidya Tattva. We'll send the book for revision. The inactive Vidya Tattva is the passive wisdom principle. When enabled, it evolves into the active wisdom principle. It becomes active. It's like a light bulb coming on, and this happens several times a day. Several times a day when you understand something, when you suddenly, there is a click from within, a realization, the penny drops. Attempt to recognize those moments of true insight exchange. That is the activation of the Vidya Tattva. It moves from passive to active in that one little bulb shining. Yeah. Now, it's important that you don't stop there. Also understand what happens actually on activation. Now that it has become active, what is happening? That is in verse 93. On activation, pure consciousness projects apparent conduciveness for imparting wisdom as well as for receiving it. In that moment, the environment will be such that the understanding will have room to multiply. That time you're not thinking about some money, name, fame, relationship, family. You're not lost in vasana. Suddenly the environment is conducive for receiving that wisdom, for understanding it. You could have had a very tough day at work today, all day. But right now, when I just spoke about the inner insight exchange and you got it, what happened? Suddenly, that pure consciousness projected that conducive environment, irrespective of what has happened during the day. Do you recognize that? Yeah. It projected that conducive environment. That is the moment you must not move away from a new insight that has just appeared. Yeah, it's a precious moment. Why precious? Because the environment suddenly, my inner environment, my mental environment, has become conducive for receiving the wisdom. That is the moment that you must really have a notebook, pick it up, make your notes, attempt to understand, detail it, journal it, dive deep into it. It's like getting your foot into the door. Some door opened for a little bit. In between vasanas, I got a moment of relief. A door opened. What has happened? The pure consciousness has just projected a conduciveness. It is only going to last so much, like a wave appears, peaks and disappears. Your job is to recognize that conducive environment is my opportunity. This is the moment I should carry a pocketbook, a little notebook, or whatever, your gadget, your phone. Immediately start making the note. Yes, I recognize that quiet insight exchange which happened at a higher level but is apparently posing or portraying to be happening in the waking. But this is only the costume. This is not true. It happened here and I recognize the insight exchange. Okay. Now, when you recognize this, it's very beautifully written next. The Guru and disciple consciousness are two reflections of the one and only caste, the pure consciousness. Caste is the one that stands in front of the mirror, and whatever you see inside the mirror as reflections, those are reflections. So this person standing here is the caste. His multiple reflections inside are the reflections. So what is the verse talking about? It's saying that the Guru and disciple consciousness both are these reflections of one and only one caste, the pure consciousness. Okay? This is pure consciousness looking into the mirror and seeing these reflections of Guru and disciple consciousness. Reflections are not the real. They are not the real. That's poetically written. Could be reflections are not the reality. So becoming very clear that this wisdom exchange happened at another level, not at the level where the reflection of the Guru consciousness and the disciple consciousness is there. This Guru and disciple are only the reflections. The caste is actually pure consciousness, and at that level is where insight exchange truly happened. It only appeared here at the reflection level. This appearance is not the truth. This reflection is not the reality. Clear? That brings us to the last verse for today, 94. Do you recognize the presently activated Vidya Tattva? Are you ripe enough to be awakened by a mere reminder? Now also, if you understood what we are discussing, naturally your Vidya Tattva has suddenly lit like a bulb. Have you recognized that? That is how you understood it. Are you ripe enough to be awakened by a mere reminder? Means it lasts only so much. It will suddenly disappear. Do you recognize it? It's not going to be there continuously. It's suddenly going to be poof, gone. When it's gone, then the whole window closes on you. Now when the window is closed, I just got a mere reminder in that window. Am I ripe enough to recognize all these reminders? They're tiny, 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 tiny reminders. And I gave you an example. They are not going to just happen with respect to spiritual knowledge. They also happen with respect to you watching a simple documentary. That's why I gave you completely Anatma Vasana example. There also, insight exchange was always happening elsewhere. But I believed that this appearance is where the insight exchange happened. This waker understood, became more intelligent, smarter, could process the information better. No, nothing like that is happening. This waker only appears and disappears, pretends to be somebody. I am understanding, I am so intelligent, I am smart. All the insight exchange is happening elsewhere. So question for the Gurukul student: do I recognize the presently activated Vidya Tattva, which is understanding this wisdom that we are discussing? Am I ripe enough? Second paragraph of verse 94. Can you sense that you, the Turiya, are subtly alluding yourself to discard all waking forms? I am only telling myself that discard this, discard that, discard that. It is me only. It is not something else. It is not Ekta. It is not the scriptures. It is not the wisdom from ancient masters. No. It is me. I am telling myself, discard this, discard this, discard this. You, the Turiya, are directing yourself to turn within. Listen, silence speaks. So this week's work is to recognize insight exchange, to recognize, am I ripe enough to see every insight exchange? To recognize it's me only, that is the Turiya, that is telling myself to turn within, discard this, discard this, discard this. Do I recognize that I, the Turiya, am directing myself? This entire week's work is given here in this verse 94. Good. I think that's a lot of work for 1 week. I'll give you this week to dive deeper into this understanding and see this truth for yourself.